Roland Fritz is an internationally certified hypnotherapist and a metaphysical counselor and teacher. He has spent over 30 years assisting people through individual counseling, courses and workshops. Roland's deep connection to the universe, insight into our truths, and unique methodology has helped many people successfully overcome spiritual, mental, and physical difficulties.
Hi, my name is Kimberleigh Stark, and I'm with United Network Africa, and joining me today, as always, is my buddy, Roland Fritz, and we're going to be talking about some interesting things, like in duality. I mean, what does duality mean?
It's a very deep subject, and I think the world needs to know about duality. It's time. We all know that there's good and evil. We all know of this duality that we are born into. And as I said last time, let the games begin when we have black and white. Mm-hmm. We're constantly involved in the story. It's the oldest story that's being told to us. I mean, let's look at all the children books. There's always a good character and a bad character, and the good wins. We go to religion, and it says God will win one day over evil. And we go to Hollywood movies, and generally there's always a good character who has to fight the bad character. And in children movies, same thing. Walt Disney, it's always a bad character. So when you study spirituality for a long, long time, you come to the conclusion that how we're going to ever get out of that. We have peace, war, peace, war. We've been going on for this for thousands of years. And here we're going to say, well, we're going to enter now maybe 1,000 years of peace. But my take is differently, and it's a very deep spiritual understanding that people can only understand once they've really gone deep into researching all that. There will never be that. We are in a duality world. We will stay in a duality world. The only way we can get out of it is if we stay in the center. Now, very simple. If you take a triangle, you've got positive and negative there. You've got good and bad here. If you rotate the triangle, it becomes a cone, right? When you have a cone, you have, let's say, the Earth rotating around the center, which is the sun. Now, when you look at the sun would then be in the triangle in the center, would be aligned with the cusp of the triangle. Mm-hmm. Now the cusp of the triangle, as we know, is the God point. It's the singularity, it's the point on top there. So how do we go into a higher dimension? We all know from different traditions that there's a time coming on this earth where we are allowed to go into a higher dimension, where we don't have to go through peace, war, and people backstabbing and lying and everything. We all want to live in a great brotherhood of peace. The only way to get out of it is to stay in the center between good and bad. As a very old master said, I could only go into a higher vibration, I could only go into a higher dimension when I was master of the bad and the good, but master of none. So it means is, inside of us is both. Mm-hmm. And my take is that we are an experiment which has, call it, if the story is correct, we have reptilian inside of us, or the bad, and we have also the bird race inside of which is the good. Let's just take it as that. And we, inside of ourselves, need to come to a center. And I always say to people, everyone is evil. If I tomorrow get to somebody to kill your child in front of you, you're not going to say, bless you, my child. You're going to become very evil and fight that person, which is norm. But the question is, do you have to attract it? Right. So the only way to get out of it is we are not creating that all the time, that we have to, and I don't say anything that you have to protect yourself. If you have to protect yourself, you have to protect yourself. But why create it in the first place? If we're creators of our own reality, why create that somebody has to come to you to kill your mother in front of your father inside of you? So there's a whole group consciousness, and it's very few people, and as I said, the only person, from my perspective, I don't look at every movie that is made in Hollywood, was very much Star Wars with Return of the Jedi, where the Jedi goes to Yoda and he says, before Yoda dies, Yoda says to him, you're going to meet the main bad guy of this cosmos, of this fight, and he's going to try everything to make you fight him, and hate him. But do not do that, because if you do, you fall to the dark force like your father did. And this, in a sense, for me was very important, because whoever has said that in a movie, I mean, you look at Avatar, which was a beautiful movie, but look how it ends. Here we've got the Air Force and everybody in the military coming in and shooting the bad guys to save the good guys. That was for me a disappointment, even though the movie was so nice, because in actual fact, we have to become alchemists to transform the bad side. And before we can transform the bad side outside of ourselves, we have to transform the bad side inside of ourselves. How do we get to that? I always say to people, if I could record everybody's thoughts about themselves and the outside world, and then play it back and have a common denominator of all these thoughts, we would be shocked. Because how many people, like me too, when we start growing up and we are called spiritually asleep, we don't know how the system works, how the laws work. And we have thoughts and we're watching TV and we say, oh, I wish these bloody people would just die and disappear off this earth, you know. Why don't they just throw that one atom bomb on and we are free of them? And all these thoughts have power inside of us, because we're born in the image of the Creator. We're born in the image of God. What does it mean? God has given us the power to create. But every thought that we have about ourselves and about other people creates. So I say to people, do not judge those that kill other people. You can also judge people who sit in front of the TV and wish that this kind of people would disappear, or they hate them so much, or whatever it is. They are part of the killing. Do you understand? Because what happens is all these negative thoughts create a dark cloud in the quantum space, and then has to, like a lightning, discharge itself on a horrible ruler that will then go out and do horrific things. So that's where we create Hitlers and Stalins and Mao Zedongs and whatever, and Idi Amins and all that. So how we're getting out of it is, and hopefully people can understand in a simplistic form, because as I say, there is lots that needs to be understood, is that we need to stand in our center all the time. Which means is, I need to first look at my dark side. I need to look at that and see, why is the dark side there? Why have I created it? How do people come to me and did horrible things to me? How did I create that they come to me in the first place? When we start changing that more and more within ourselves, then we stand more and more in the center. That means is we don't need to judge anybody anymore, because the ancients used to say, if you judge somebody, it's been going on inside of you long before you could witness it, right? So judgment, and it says in the Christian tradition too, you know, thou shalt not judge, but people don't understand it yet. It's not because it's said wrong. Nobody has explained it in detail. A judgment is something that's going on inside of us. So we need to change that first within yourself, otherwise you're not going to be able to stop judging without. So in a simplistic form is, we have different timelines, and people know about timelines. We know about different dimensions. In CERN there were experiments done where they could go into another dimension for a short time, and then they didn't have an energy to stay there. But everything exists all the time. There is multiple possibilities in this universe. And so this timeline that we are on planet Earth is running out. It runs itself out. The only way to ascend, as ascension is coming, where we're going to go into a different higher dimension, is to be totally at peace with what is. And interesting enough, Einstein said also, God does not play with dice. So we now know more and more, and I can tell you only from personal experiences with 20, 30 years of experience in counseling people, that everything is absolutely perfect as it is, and that everybody with my system that I found out absolutely created their reality. And as horrible as it might seem. Now, when we go, of course, into group consciousness, it's more difficult to explain, to say, well, why did 100 people die now, or why did a catastrophe kill these people? That's very difficult to understand. One has to go much deeper, but there is also an explanation for that. And so coming back again, as within, so without. Let's look at the world. The world is controlled by generally men and women in men's clothes. most of them, sorry to say, because they have to follow the tradition
Yes.
of the corporate, of the way men handle business and politics, etc.
Trying to find that equality with the men.
That's right. So the thing is now we say, well, they don't care much about nature, they don't care much about humanity in a sense. I mean, let's talk it broad. Of course, there's individuals who do care, and there's people fighting for it. And they constantly seem to separate us. So it's North and South Korea, it's North and South Vietnam, it's Catholics and Christians, reborn Christians, and it's these ones. And everybody says, no, my God is better, or it's the Muslims, or it's the Jews, or whatever it is. It's always separation. Now, must we say, well, the people have created that, that's called at the moment, when you look all over, it's called the Cabal. Must we now hang them all and kill them all to get rid of them? Well, that would be a fight again. And we would have to use the dark side's energy to fight them so it stops. Well, we might get peace and we might fight them, maybe we might win them. But then we are back into that cycle again of peace and war. And we have to go back, as the Indians say, the Kali Yuga, into the dark times, and we have to experience that again. Instead of saying, well, you know what, that runs itself out, and let us rather send love to them so they become conscious. Let us send love to all the people out there who want to create a war to fight this. And I understand, they say, well, we can't allow them to vaccinate us because they're going to kill us, or they don't allow us to chip us, or whatever is out there. It is uninteresting. But the thing is, they want to fight it, and the problem is they don't understand that if they just leave it alone at the moment, because we're coming into a time where when you stay in the center and you say, I understand that's how it is because it's perfect as it is, they are separating us outside in this world, but we are separated from our spirit. We are separated in constantly judging, because I judge this person, or I judge this group of people, and I judge this group of people because I'm not the same and they believe something different, so I hate them and I don't like them. So therefore we're judging inside of ourselves, is judging outside, and we're separated from our spirit. Now spirit is actually the center of who you are, right? If you look at the chakra system, you've got 3 chakras here and 3 chakras below, and the heart is exactly in the middle. So the ancients used to draw the sun always in the heart. Now why is that? Because the sun is the creator of this reality. How do we know? Science says, how do I keep in that shape, and why don't I turn into a big fat blob, or I turn into a flower, or I turn into a crystal? I mean, how does each electron knows its orbit around each nucleus? Because I'm only atoms, that's all I am. I mean, it's an amazing order that's in me right now as I'm sitting here. And the ancients used to say, you're basically like a galaxy.
Yes.
Each person is its own galaxy. And everything inside of ourselves is, of course, surrounded by most of its space, which is basically your spirit, which is basically the field, as they call it in quantum physics, which is all your thoughts and emotions and everything that's in there, that's basically controlling this field of, will I have a disease or not a disease, because it's inside of me. Will I affect the electrons around my orbits? Will I affect the whole order inside of me? So we are much, much bigger than people can even think of. So it's very, very important then that we as people need to find that total peace inside ourselves. That means is we need to open up our hearts. We need to connect to our hearts, because if you talk to people out there that are controlling us with masculine energy, with logical energy, that's masculine energy. Well, we are running around only with our logical mind, with masculine energy. Do we ever bring up our heart? Very few, and more people are switching on towards the heart, which is important, which is the feminine energy, much more. The spirit is feminine energy. That's why you girls have got what is called the sixth sense. Now, yes, it is a strength that females have over men. Men can also get it through meditation, through doing also all different exercises. But you females have the sixth sense. Why? Because spirit, she's female. And you are female, so that's why you have it automatically. Now, and you see I'm now digressing and I'm going into a whole thing, but now let's look at God. So God in our times is a male,
Yes.
right? But if we go back in times, we know that God was a female. Before the male said, no, we've got to get rid of the female God. Now we want to control it, let's make it male God. So we've gone through this wave of female God, male God. What is God really? Well, God is both here in our three-dimensional world. Here we come to duality again. In all ancient books, it says first was the void. What's the void? It's the womb, female. What do we put in there? The sperm. What is the sperm? Consciousness, the thought. What does the female do with the sperm? It gives it energy to make it grow. What does it become then? It becomes light. Light, and then from the light it goes to sound. And there was the word, and here's the manifest. So everything has a word in a sense, because they say, the ancient Sumerians said, if you know how God spoke the word, let's say, of a horse, and you speak it backwards, all horses would disappear. So the creation is sound, we know that, right? So what does science say? How do I stay in this shape? Or how does this crystal stay in that shape? Or how does my dog stay in the shape? Or how does a plant stay in the shape of a palm tree? Why doesn't it turn into a rose? I mean, how does each electron know, I'm going to stay this way and this way and this way, and I make a palm tree? Well, science has found out. They found out that the information of all molecular structures sits on the light wave that comes from the sun. What did the ancient Egyptians say? They say that's Ra, the creator. So we now understand quite clearly that space or spirit is feminine God, and light and sound is male God, is creative God. Okay? So when we incorporate that, when we now understand that we are not just a persona, a male born in Austria, you a female born in America, wherever, but that we here are 99.9% space, spirit, that lives forever, never dies. This is this part of you that leaves here planet Earth, goes into another dimension, and if you go now into NDEs, near-death experiences, and you ask Dr. Raymond Moody and Dr. Eben Alexander, many others who've done research, who went to people and say, you were declared clinically dead. I mean, we were about to put you into the earth or burn you, but then you came back in the morgue. What happened to you? And there was one common answer. The common answer was, I saw my whole life, and I looked at it, and I felt every emotion and thought that I had, plus the emotions of the people that I interacted with. So there was no God up there who judged you. It was in the system that you actually look at your life yourself. So here I say that we are still emotional when the physical body is here burned or in the earth, and we're still emotional on the other side. Of course, when we're like there, and this brings me to all my difficult cases that had problems as babies or came in as little children, and you say, this is unfair. How can they treat a baby like that? And I can tell you, on personal thing, they created it because, as I say to people that want to kill themselves, if you hate yourself and you live in the other dimension, then you have to be reborn. Will you be able to go to parents that will love you? The chances are very slim, because there's only one law. Now, I was born Catholic because that's what you are when you're born in Austria or in France. And there was only one law. And the law is that Spirit said to all of us long time ago, the way you talk to me within, the way you treat me within, and the way you believe with me within, that's what I give you without. That's the only law. And for all the listeners here now, check it for yourself. And that's what I teach, the mirrors of life. And that's what they said in Qumran when they found the scrolls. There was a passage in there. They said to master your life, you have to see the mirrors of life. So everything is a mirror. So if we take this now into high technology, then I say you have a projector lamp here that creates a hologram around you. And that is your world. Now, I've studied hypnosis 3 times, and I can tell you conclusively that we've done these tests where we tell people drinking glasses don't exist in your reality anymore. And then we take it out, and he will not remember anything that we said that, and then we go and mingle with people, and everyone has a drink, and I ask that person, what is your friend holding in his hand? And the person will say nothing. And we will say to him all kinds of bad words. Are you mad? Are you normal? I mean, can't you see? What is he holding in his hand? The person said, there is nothing. So we've changed his reality. And you can do that many times in hypnosis, of changing people's reality, and it works. You test the people even, until they beat you up and you say, sleep, and he's gone. So here we see quite clearly that we create a hologram bubble around us That is our reality.
Do we have the ability to change our reality, to make our reality positive, to change the situation?
Yes, you can change your reality. The only thing is I want to say is because we were given time here on this planet to manifest things, they don't come up just instantly. Like when you hear from people who do astral traveling, you think of a pink elephant, it's there immediately. Now, if every thought would immediately materialize in this world, it would be a disaster. As I said to you already, we have so many negative thoughts inside of ourselves, and so much hate inside of ourselves because we lost ourselves, that if all that would materialize, we would be in hell instantly. So because the system is like that, where it's actually delayed, there's also delayed in seeing the positive side of changing your reality. So the reality, of course, has to change by seeing the mirrors all the time, as I said to you. So if you, for example, now have to write a script for a program, and then you present that script to a film director next day, and he looks at it and he makes a bad comment and he says, gee, you could have given a little bit more than that, and you're very hurt. Okay, so it's a typical example. You walk away, you're home. Now, normally, you would sit there for 2 or 3 days, you would start hating your boss, you would start hating your job, and you say, you know, this is unfair, you know, I really tried to give my best, you know, they don't see my value, you know, maybe I should go somewhere else. And so here you had lots of negative thoughts. Now let's go back and what the ancients said. The ancients said everything is perfect as it is. Einstein said God doesn't play with dice. So I say to you immediately as a counselor, well, let's look at it. It's a mirror, okay, he's a mirror. So what is he? He's a man. So that represents your inner dialogue, okay. So how did you perceive he treated you? So you would say, well, he didn't see my value. He was rude to me, you know. He didn't even consider me, asking me questions or anything like that. Then I say to you, well, are you rude to yourself in your inner dialogue? I mean, you sometimes call yourself names and you say, yes, I do, okay. Are you rude to yourself? Do you actually see your value? Do you know what your value is? No, I never thought of that. Well, there you are. So this was a mirror straight away for you to now rectify your life. So like a pilot who is in an aeroplane or a ship's captain on a ship, we all get moved away by the tide and the wind. He has to do course directions. So I say to people, to live a spiritual life, to get to that point, is to do course directions each day. Which means the spirit is constantly trying to get you into the center, so that you get away from hate, that you get away from judging people, etc., because they're just mirrors. When we do more and more that mirror work, when we see all the time that, we can see the perfection in everything. And therefore, when we do that more and more, you're going to the heart. As I said to you, the heart is then the center. Going back to this triangle, every time you go into the center, what's the center? If you have a hurricane, the eye of the hurricane is totally quiet. The minute you step out of it, it zooms you out. Well, that's life. If you stay in the eye of the hurricane, that means is I take full responsibility for my life. Why? God said, I make you all creators in my name. You can go out there and do whatever you like. I will support you, positive or negative. You need to work it out. But stay central. Always remember, the way you talk to me and the way you treat me, that's what I give you without. This was the simple law that we all fell asleep to. That's why the ancients said, these people all fall asleep, forgive them, they don't know anymore how to play this game of Monopoly of life. So when you constantly go into the center, which is the heart, which is the eye of the hurricane, which is in our cone, right, the center, you are aligned with the cusp of the triangle. What are you aligned with? God, the God force. On day X comes the stairway to heaven. You can walk up and you go through that point and another triangles open up. So you got one this way and the other one open, and you go into the other dimension. So you can enter the other dimension. So this is a theory that I have, that I've worked out 3 years, but I think it's the right theory, that the people at the moment who now stay in the center, work on themselves, work on their dark side. We all have the dark side within. We all got hate. We all got, we can go mad, and we all wish this would happen and that would happen and all that, because we don't know. But we're creating realities out there. So the more people stay in that and send love to people who want to destroy this planet, send love to people so they're awakened. And let me give you another beautiful story. I had a friend that I knew, and he grew up with his parents who were hunters here in Africa, so they went to go and hunt all different kinds of animals, and he often invited me and say, would you like to come with us? Come with us. And I said, look, I'm terribly sorry. I find absolutely no joy in killing an animal. Absolutely, I cannot do it. And so he always went, and then one day I asked him as well, because it was weekend, so I said, oh, you're going hunting again with your dad and your friends? He says, I'm not going anymore. So I said, oh, why is that? He said, last time I shot a buck, and when I went to the buck, he was still alive, and he looked so deep into my heart that it actually hurt me. Oh. And I say, thank you, buck, for dying, to helping this man to become conscious, right? Yes. So here we have a powerful animal in the last minute that gives that person a consciousness in the heart to open up, because the heart is just closed, right? To see that there's something deeper in it. Now, let's go back to the old San people. I worked with San people as well, because I sell Kalahari salt. And the San people have lost. There's hardly any left. They've all been brought into the Western tradition. They're all now into alcohol and everything like that. And they've been chased away by everybody in this Africa. It doesn't matter if it was white, black people, or whoever. Chased them into the deepest part of the desert. Now, the San people, and I met one elderly, it was the last old man that I met there, and he said, when we used to kill an animal, we used to pray first for the animal. When we went to the animal, we shot it. Before I let the arrow fly, I thanked the animal to die for us so that we can feed our family. And of course, they didn't have meat every day. Mm-hmm. Today we go into a restaurant, oh, well, let me have a pig, let me have this, let me have that, let me have that. It's become so natural to us, and we go to Pick and Pay and just buy it, you know. We don't know anymore what was behind that animal. Mm-hmm. Even in that animal is spirit. Every spirit is in everything. And it's the same spirit that's inside of you. Even though the animal might not be able to talk to you, but we know that they actually do talk telepathically. There's so many animal whisperers and people who teach you how to talk to animals, and it's always through the heart. We have lost, and we become very numbed up. Yes. We're a society that's numbed up to a plant. I always say to people, a plant picks up your emotions, and there's lots of experiments going on at the moment on that. And an animal picks you up, but you don't pick it up. So this was a beautiful example, as I say to you, how this man was transformed by an animal dying, because the way the animal looked into his heart, gave him such an awakening of consciousness. So I'm saying the same way we can do, being us, the animal that are being shot at the moment, or being harmed, we humans, by sending that information of helping with love, that these people all wake up. And I'm talking of the people who control the world, but I'm also talking of the people that are the victims. Yes. And of course, the more that people think they're a victim, the more they will be a victim, because you're attracted. Do you understand? Absolutely. So people are talking about, okay, we're going to get now jabbed, and we're going to all die, and it's going to be horrible and all that. Yes, I understand that, but aren't you all dead already somewhere inside? Yeah. You see, the heart, aren't you continuously allowing these hierarchies of men or masculine energy to control us? How long does it take us to wake up? So this is my theory. So my theories say, let's stay in the center, understand that there's a dark side and a good side. Let's see the dark side inside of ourselves and transform it. Let's see the light side in ourselves and transform it. And people might say, well, you're only talking about the dark side. No, I talk about the light side the same way. I had a lady, she was looking after 8 children. And she came to me for counseling. And so she said, the world is horrible, nobody cares. I can't get enough money, and all these richer people don't care, and these governments don't care, and this one don't care. And so I said to her, but why? And I need to build up thousands of homes. So I said, why would you want to do that? I said, take my hat off you of what you're doing. So I'm not judging that. I'm just saying to you, why do you want to help thousands of AIDS children or orphans? Why? She said, well, that's normal. I said, no, I understand that. But tell me, why do you want to do it? She didn't understand it. She got very cross with me. So I said to her, tell me, when you in the morning go to your AIDS village, what happens? She said, I go there and they all give me a hug and they all love me because I'm the mother. I said, okay, let me tell you something. It works on the negative as well and the positive as well. Have you ever given yourself love? No. I'm uninteresting. They must receive it. I said, well, let me tell you, when you should come to heaven and whoever your God is, God will say, you missed something here. I said, you've done an excellent job. But when is it your time? When are you ever going to love yourself? By doing that, by loving yourself, you're going to help a greater cause, because you're going to teach that to children so that they're no longer victims. Here, you're teaching the poor children that you live in a world where you are a victim and you can't get out. Wow. So we are in a victim world. Yes. We are. Everybody is a victim, you know. If it's the poor black people who say, well, you know, it's because of the whites, and and the Jew says it's because of the German, because they killed our forefathers, and this one says this one, and the Spaniard said it's because of the Spanish people who came and they killed our forefathers, and it just goes on and on and on. It's victims. Do you understand?
Trying to lay the blame elsewhere instead of looking within.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So quantum physics says, and even the ancients used to say, the observer and observed are one. What did the ancients say? There's nothing outside of you but you. So everything exists and nothing exists. Do you see that when we go into this old philosophy, how one can start understanding it? Yes. Because you can't normally understand it. And the same thing is when the I am is a very powerful word. When you say I am useless, I am worthless, you know, I'm shy, and you know what, it's just in our family and it's because of my dad, and you know, he never allowed us to speak and he didn't want to speak, and so we're a shy family. I am shy, you stay that. Mm-hmm. So God switched off protection in 1996. It was very clear to me. Where people used to come to me and they say, no, you've got to protect yourself, you've got to have crystals to protect yourself, you've got to have salt to protect yourselves, whatever it is. Protect, protect, protect. And I've got my guides to protect myself and this. God says, when are you going to wake up, guys? This was kindergarten. You're now in primary school. Primary school says, you are the creator of your own reality. Who you want to protect yourself from? Yourself? Yes. If you're the creator, then you can only attract. I don't care if it's the alien, the grey, the reptilian, the spook in the house, the person that climbs over the wall and shoots you, the person that steals from you. If you are the creator and you're in the hologram, then you created that person on the hologram.
Okay, so let me just ask you, this brings to mind magnetism, okay? So you've got the positive and the negative, all right? Do we attract, you know, certain energies? Are we like magnets?
Well, first of all, let's go back. Magnetism is also gravity. That's what they find out today. So magnetism, you're born in the image of a star. What's the star? The sun. We're all stars to be born. Now, interesting, go back into old spirituality. They say, well, now you're a physical body, you're very dense, and then you go into a higher dimension, then you become lighter, more light, because why? Your atomic vibration raises up, it goes into a higher frequency, until you become very fine physical body. Okay, when people do channeling and all that, and they go into a higher dimension, they see these spirits or angels that are very fine energy, and then finally we become a ball of light. And then we are together with lots of balls of light, and we become a star. So the ancients used to say that in each star there is souls in there that actually create their reality. So there's balls of light in there. They've created these animals, these trees. They created this earth. Do you understand? Okay. So this is just a story. But there is something behind the story, that we are the star, we are the creator. So the star has huge magnetism, as we know, right? Okay, it can pull everything into it. We know that if the star, for example, implodes in itself, which it says once the fire or whatever, the plasma is finished, it will suck its own creation back into itself again. It will all suck into it, becomes a black hole. Yes. Right? Yes. So that's what they talk of, these massive stars that implode. They become a huge black hole, and then they suck everything around themselves into them. So we have the same way. So we are magnetism in a sense. Look, if we go to a pub now, and we go to the pub and we order a drink, and you say to me, and I say, okay, well, let's sit at the pub, and you say, oh no, I don't want to sit next to that person. Now that person hasn't said a word to you, hasn't done anything to you, and then I say to you, well, Kimberleigh, why? And you say, I don't know, I get a funny feeling, you know, it's uncomfortable. And I said, you know what, me too, let's sit somewhere else. We all have that. So we're all, in a sense, psychic. Mm-hmm. And then you go to a lady down there and you talk to her and you come back to me and you say, Roland, you've got to meet this lady. She is so nice. And we talk and we say, my God, what a lovely evening that was. And it was great that we found this beautiful lady and we had a lovely conversation. Now, this is a movie. Let's take both of these people out and ask them only two questions. What do you think about yourself and what do you think about life? And I guarantee you that the guy at the pub that you and I felt uncomfortable, but you faster because you got the sixth sense, is unhappy about himself and unhappy about life, guaranteed. And you will talk to the lady down there who says, yeah, life has its challenges, but you know, I love life and I love people and I love nature and I love, you know, animals and talking to people, and two different energies. So like attracts alike is very much something that we say, and I find that very much also in life, that people who say life sucks will be surrounded by people that believe in the same thing. Yeah. And that's why also people, entrepreneurs that say, if you want to break the cycle, never surround yourself with people who have nothing, which I don't quite agree, because you know you are in that you want to be inspired all the time by people who have lots of money, otherwise you're not going to make money. Okay. They say that. Okay. Yeah, and also positive thinking courses say that. So I say, well, it's not quite like that. You can surround yourself with everybody. You need to work on yourself. You know, the question is always, this is my question in my system, is if somebody has a terrible experience, psychology says, well, it's because of that person and this person, or that father, your mother, etc. But now you're much older and you can work on that and let it go. If you go to the New Age people, they say, well, send that person lots of love and send them pink light and everything like that and forgive them, you know. And you can do that. You go to hypnosis and you say to a lady who's been sexually abused in a young age, then a hypnotist might say, and she's now very fat, and she comes to the hypnotist and say, I want to lose weight, but I can't lose weight, for example. Then the hypnotist will say, well, you weren't born fat, correct? Yeah, okay. So at what age do you remember you became fat? And she says, well, around 7 years old. And the hypnotist will put you into that time and search around in the area and then find that the uncle maybe fiddled with her, and then later somebody else fiddled, or the uncle fiddled again with her, and then the unconscious or subconscious of that lady said, let me rather become fat, I mustn't look nice, I must become ugly so that people don't touch me anymore. So the hypnotist will say, okay, well, you know what do you eat the most? And she might say, well, I love cakes and I love this. And the hypnotist, and this is a true story because I know a hypnotist who did that to fat people, and he said, well, okay, if you like chocolate cakes, you know, in the morning, in winter, when your dog puts a softie on the ground, you know how it stinks and it smells and everything? Well, every time now you put a cake in your mouth, it's going to stink, you're going to get that picture. Okay, have we really, she will get away from cakes, yes, but have we really sorted the problem out? No.
It's horrible.
But that's what some hypnotists do, and you get different things. Look, they only do what they know. They can only do so much of what they know. I'm not judging a psychologist nor a hypnotist. They only do what they have in their knowledge. So I say differently when they come to me and I say, well, if nothing is by chance, then you've attracted that man to do that to you. So let's have a look at your whole inside of what beliefs you have within yourself. When we then come to that person, and always people who get raped or abused sexually have all the same. And it's always the same. They believe deeply in their heart that they're nobody, they're nothingness, they hate themselves, they hate their sexuality, they don't love themselves, always the same. So I say to these people always, and the last person who came to me, she was raped 4 times, and I said to her, what's your name? So she said my name was Elizabeth something. And I said, no, that's not your name. What is your real name? So she said, it's Elizabeth, Mary, blah, 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 blah. I said, I'm terribly sorry, it's not your real name. You don't understand me. What is your real name? And let them hang for a long time. And I said, did you not just tell me when you were in the altered state and I asked you into your heart when we go into the system of the mirrors of life, did you not just tell me that you're an absolute nobody, nothingness, hating yourself, not loving yourself, etc.? Is that correct? She said, that's correct. I said, have you ever been to Las Vegas or seen movies of Las Vegas? You've got these huge neon signs that advertise a name. Yes. I said, you're walking around with one of those. And it says out there, I'm nothingness, I'm a nobody, I'm nothing. Now let me tell you of a study that they've done in America where they went to prisons. It was a psychological study done, and they asked, why did you rape that person?
I was going to ask you that. What about the rapist?
Correct. And the rapist said there was one common answer in all of them. Doesn't matter if it was men or women, but generally it's more women. It said, because I felt I could do it. So I said, lady, now is the wake-up time. Remember what I said to you. Spirit says, the way you talk to me, the way you treat me, that's what I give you without. If you just start loving yourself, a rapist will run away. I can tell you conclusively through all my research of people who had traumatic experience where people were grabbed, taken away, done horrible things to them, always had the similar thing. That, or for example, they say, I don't care what happens to me. How many people say that? How many people say that? Your wish is my command, says Spirit, you understand? So I said, if you just love yourself and you say, and the rapist comes to you and they say, what can I do for you? My name is Emily. You look him straight in the eye. You have an auric field. Exactly what we taught about the bar when we said we don't want to be around me. There's an auric field. The rapist is actually scared of you. But if you say, I hate myself, I don't care what happens to me, and I don't love myself, I'm a nobody, I'm a nothingness, some even say a piece of rubbish, you know, that's how far it goes. Well, there's no auric field. The rapist comes, who are you? Elizabeth. No, you're not Elizabeth, you're a piece of shit. Let me just take your watch away, let me rape you. Do you understand? There's no auric field here. This is definitely something that I absolutely clearly saw. So are we attracting or magnetizing to us? Absolutely. Our thoughts and emotions are attracting everything to us. Absolutely, 100%. We are born in the image of a star. We are the sun. Are we going to attract an asteroid to hit us, which is a guy who's going to rape us? Are we going to attract somebody to give us love and support and everything like that because we give ourselves support? Absolutely. Definitely, definitely, definitely. It is actually very, very simple. That's what magnetism is. We are magnetism. We attract to us. We are that. We are a hologram. There is only a bubble around each of us. That's our reality.
I think we're going to stop it here, and we're going to have to pick this up because it just seems like there is so much. Maybe next time when we get together, we can talk about how to cleanse our magnetic lenses so that we only attract positive. There's so much that we can do.